Alright, hello and welcome back to Downstage Gaming. I'm your host Josh, and this is part 41 of The Letter. As you can hear from the intense music going on here, some things are happening. When we last left off, Ash had gotten another scare last night when we were at Isabella's place with the ghoul. And then we spent some time in the park, just sort of trying to figure things out. We went over to the bar, we talked with G. We've sort of, it seems like, made the notion that, okay, if we want to really get to the bottom of this, that means going to the mansion. But we've been interrupted with that because we've gotten a call that something has happened to Zach, and we need to come see it for ourselves. Now, of course, I think we all know, to a certain extent, what it is we're going to see there, but here we go. Driving off with my body on autopilot, mind in a daze and afraid. Utterly afraid that I've lost someone in my life again. I do want to say, this music that's playing right now, I really love it. This song in particular is very good. Little like ticking sound effect that's going. I love it. It's just one of the things I don't think I've mentioned much yet. I think the music in this game is generally very good. That I've lost someone in my life again. The whole precinct is in an uproar. But first, there's a picture we need to take a look at here. That's quite... Hey, Officer Ren's here. Just want to let you know, your friend's dead. Call me back. The whole precinct is in an uproar. Officers move in and out from the main work hall with rapid steps. Phones blare loudly from the comms room, and calls are being made from the dispatch area. The rest, who has been left standing watch the whole commotion with a nervous energy. From further back, the chief's voice booms above the uproar. I'm not even shocked. He may appear like the bumbling fool on first glance, but he has kept the city safe for years. I have yet to see a single piece of lead that has not come across like a bumbling fool, so I'd love to see it. For something to happen in his jurisdiction, inside his own precinct, right under his nose, he has the right to be royally pissed.
What do you mean you don't know? Don't give me that shite, Sergeant!
It was a ghost, I've been telling you.
How can one person, slip past you? You can't even keep an eye on one man!
His statement gives me pause. Am I wrong? Did Zach escape somehow? I'm not condoning it, neither do I believe Zach's capable of doing it, let alone thinking of it. But if it's what happened, I'll be equally as cross as the chief. This won't help his case, this will only complicate things with Wright and put the both of us in a tight spot. So this is interesting if that's actually the case, but we'll see. I won't be able to help him once red tape prevents me from doing so. Yet a hint of relief still washes over me as I walk close to my boss, mentally preparing myself for whatever reprimand he's about to dish out.
What's happening, Chief?
Except he merely glances at me with an inscrutable expression. Although, if I am going to read deeper into it, I'll say it's the closest expression he can get to shooting me a pitying look. For the first time in my years in the Force, I'd find myself wishing to hear a reprimand from him. Whatever the stare means, it can't be good. Coupled with Officer Renz's tone this morning, it does nothing to calm the uneasy feeling in me. Fuck. Boss even seems relieved to see me. After the last few exchanges we've had these past 2 weeks, you'll think the man doesn't want to see me right now.
That time you got in here.
I got caught up in something. Sorry, Chief.
Also, you specifically told me to not... Oh, well, actually, today is the day I'm supposed to be back, huh?
What's going on? Is there a problem with Zach?
He hesitates for a second, before his frown eases with a long, dragged-out exhale.
I'm not sure if you can call this a problem, Frey, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Follow me. And you! I want your full report about this by the end of the day. It better be good or you are kissing that badge goodbye.
The officer he's addressing, the sergeant, a man in his late 20s to 30s who transferred here last year, shrinks back in his chair. I don't quite remember his name. I've only seen him quite a number of times since I'm often out of the precinct. But if my memory serves me right, he's the guy currently assigned to late night shift, at least until this month ends. Depending on how bad this is, he'll either be given a verbal warning, a suspension, or a dismissal. It's not a position I envy him for being in right now. Although there's really not much time left to feel sorry for him either. As soon as the chief's done roasting the other officers behind the guy, he gestures for me to follow. Straight towards the precinct's holding cells. And it's if a switch has been turned off, the moment he steps away from the small crowd, the entire main lobby goes silent. For one reason or another, it feels like everyone's simply waiting for the metaphorical hammer to fall. Even their stares, before we turned to an adjacent hallway, exude the same pitying vibe as the Chief's. All of which I might have easily ignored any other day. People here can be a bunch of gossip mongers. So only the significant glance Chief throws my way before pushing the door open that stops me. Not that there's even a need to mull it over, because the moment he swings it open, it strikes me. A sharp, dry, metallic scent. I've already grown familiar with it over the years. It's another one of those things you'll have to get used to once they start handing you the homicide cases. Now, just a whiff of it tells enough for me to gauge the severity of the situation. This isn't the festering smell you get when someone in the room has a flesh wound. It lingers far too much in the air, hangs far too heavy, even where I stand. No. This is what you get when someone has spilled blood all over the room. This is what you get when there's a large pool of it. This is what you get when no one bothers with cleanup for a few hours because forensic work isn't done yet. This is what you get when there's most certainly a dead body somewhere. I don't want to think of the who yet. There are simply too many possibilities, too many variables unaccounted for here to form a single conclusion. However, when the Chief of Lexborn Police refuses to provide answers, a chill easily fills every nerve in my body. Almost in a trance, I follow after him without asking anything or saying another word. For the first time in years, I feel like a damn rookie again. I feel like you said that a couple of times lately. Fresh out of training, newly instated, and still on my first homicide case. Except I didn't balk at the idea of seeing a dead body then. I actually loved it. I was looking forward to the dead bodies. Now, as light flashes fleetingly from the far end of the hall, while CSI documents the scene and the forensics team gather evidence, the only thing my instinct tells me is to run. As far from here as possible. As if I don't have 10 years of detective work under my belt. It echoes inside my head like a mantra.
It's because you did this.
It's all your fault. Why won't you believe me?
I have to wonder if this is, just him being hard on himself, or if this is a similar thing to what Marianne was dealing with. This is sort of another way that the curse works. Over and over and over, rising and ebbing, a tidal wave of thoughts and murmurs surging and crashing against my ear, more deafening than the drum of my heartbeats and shallow guess. Churning and heaving till the cell finally comes into view and I'm afforded a clear look of what's inside. Jesus. The whole world stands still. In one single moment, every noise, every smell, every person in the room all ceases to matter the second my eyes land on his prone form. There's only red. 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 Blood everywhere on the floor where a copious amount of it is pooled, on the walls smeared on every crack and tile his hands can reach, on his face and shoulders dripping from every gash and tear, flowing from the hollow gap where his eyes should have been.
The custodial officer found him when they brought in breakfast. It was too late. He was already dead by that time. Some 3 to 4 hours, according to the blokes from forensics.
This is really horrifying. There had been a struggle, based alone on the smear pattern left on the bars and floor, but only so much as this small cell will allow him. I can already imagine how it went down. He was likely left with no other choice, cornered like an animal at the mercy of his killer. In this cell, there would have been no escape. The only thing he would have been able to do is shout for help. Perhaps the same plea written on the floor closest to him. The same one left on the pavement close to Rebecca's remains. Help me. Help me. Help me. Help that he didn't even get. And it calls for a whole lot of questions. Not the hows, logic has already flown out the window from the start. She has the mean to get to all of us. Get to all of us, bars and walls notwithstanding. The whys, though.
No one heard him? Not even one from the guys on duty last night?
Because Zach's not an idiot. He would have asked for help. He would have yelled.
Oh, one of them did, but thought nothing of it.
Then why didn't they do anything? He's just a room away!
They must have assumed your friend's just asking for attention. Henry wasn't clear on the details when I questioned him about it.
Yeah, that guy should probably be fired.
You've been serving in this precinct for more than a decade, though. You should be aware by now how rowdy the folks we detain here can become.
But, it's not I get that. But you gotta treat each individual person as a new person, right? Like, if Zach had been the kind of person who had called for help and then it turned out to be nothing, and then he did it again, sure. But, like, this would presumably be the first time that entire stay that he was there of him calling for help.
But that's not the only problem we have here.
What in God's name is the other problem?
Someone got in and out of this place without anyone noticing.
I think we,
Even the surveillance footage is a bust.
I think I can help you out with that one.
Tech's going over it now, but I don't think we'll get anything from it.
Ghost problems.
The media will have a field day when they learn of this, Frey. Keep it mum for now. I'll let you know because he's your... well...
You two would love us, right?
The poor bloke's your friend, after all.
I presume there was some sort of illicit relationship there.
I just don't want the commissioner hearing of this before I can tell him anything. Or at least, until we've figured out how the butcher got in.
The Ansem Butcher?
You think this is an inside job?
What else can it be? It's either that, or we have a damn good criminal mastermind walking this city.
Really, I want to say something. I want to tell him that this isn't what he's thinking. That all this time, the Ansem Butcher never existed. This is a curse the people of this city has been laughing up for centuries. The way things are going, we'll simply find ourselves at a dead end. Chances are, they'll just have to find an innocent chap to blame for everything, like what Wright did to Zach. A scapegoat for things they can't explain. But how am I supposed to tell anyone, let alone get them to believe my words? I'll sound like an idiot. They'll likely brush me off the same way I've done with Isabella's warnings. In the end, clenching my fists at my sides and gritting my teeth is all I'm able to do. Zach's lifeless face stares back at me, an accusation in them, sharp and searing. An expression that etches itself deep within my mind once the first officer waves us both out of the room. Another ghastly image I will never be able to forget. Just like Rebecca's bleeding corpse on the pavement. Another memory that will probably haunt me until my last dying breath. Another regret. Chief dismisses me barely an hour later, sending me off with nothing but a light pat and another sorry expression. Not entirely sure if it's supposed to be reassuring. There's plenty more to do, a lot of people to call and tell, and it all falls on me. No matter how awful the news I bring will be, it'll be better if this comes from a person his family and friends know. Still, my body refuses any notion of movement. The thought of telling Isabella about this, she'll definitely be devastated. I don't even want to imagine what his grandparents will say. They're good, kind, warm-hearted people who've given me another family without me asking for it. They welcomed me, invited me every time, easily reminded me of what having a whole home feels like. I thought I've already forgotten it. Zach's older sister will definitely show up in my apartment, though, ring my doorbell, and punch me as soon as I open the door, just like the last time. She's right. I'm the kind of person who brings nothing but trouble. She's known all along that Zach should have stopped hanging out with me, warned him several times. Zach has often laughed her concerns off. I used to think it's because he enjoys the friendship as much as I do, despite a huge part of it going unspoken between us throughout the years. Starting to regret eating that bag of chips there, Ash Boy? Now he's dead. Another one. Another person brutally taken from me. I thought I had more time. I thought he'd be safe. I acted too late. And in the deafening silence of my car, the only thing I'm able to do is close my eyes, rest my forehead against the cold surface of the steering wheel, and scream. Scream until my throat bleeds raw. Oh, wow, Ash. You and Isabella both need to stop blaming yourselves and start doing something. Scream until my lungs burn. Scream until all that remains are the guilt and the tears. The sun hangs lower when I drive back to the pub and drag myself inside, still too unsure how to break the news. Gonna laugh this off still, G? Around this time, the patrons usually start to trickle into the main lounge until it reaches a peak around midnight. Today, however, it remains thin. But considering what day it isn't too worrisome for the kind of business G runs. He has always complained about the lack of a decent crowd on week start, although he doesn't really begrudge his customers for it. No one wants to start the week with a bad case of a hangover, after all, even him. Which makes the concerned look he gives me come off a bit too cold. With the kind of danger we're in after what happened to Zach, this swiftly puts me on the edge, even before I can fully process and analyze the scene in front of me.
Something wrong, G?
G hums, but there's an undertone of annoyance in it, despite his casual and open movements. and only after he finishes wiping a tumbler and carefully settles it face down the table does he give me an answer. The way he stares back at me honestly makes me squirm. It feels like I'm being stared down by my primary school teacher for sleeping in class again.
Nothing much. Monday's still a slow day for this place. But you, might want to check on your friends, kid.
Yeah, we need to talk to Isabella.
Looks like someone woke up on the wrong side of the bed while you were out.
Another question forms in my head, along with a small, confused frown. Though before a single syllable slips past my mouth, he gestures his head on the far side of the main lounge. Isabella has settled on one of the tables set in a corner, in deep thought with a scowl on her face. From the looks of it, it appears woke up on the wrong side of the bed is a complete understatement. Turns out sleep isn't just what some of us need. Even G appears to understand it. In spite of his efforts to look as unconcerned as possible, there's a tense set on his shoulders. A nervous edge lingers in his eyes as it occasionally flickers over Isabella. He doesn't want to deal with this, especially at the start of another busy week. Not that I know how, I don't even know what put her in such a bad mood. But the imploring gaze G directs at me leaves me with no other choice. Almost feels like he's guilting me into doing something about it. I hate that it's working.
You know how I run this pub, kid. No fist fights, no cat fights, no people in sullen moods, only good booze, bad puns, and off-key singing.
Okay, yeah, I can live with that plan.
Go fix it before it turns into something chaotic.
It's probably not as petty if Isabella's already in that state, but I give him a nod nevertheless.
Sorry about this, G.
He hums something under his breath for an answer and waves me off, turning away and returning to his work without another word. Even with the lack of a sizable crowd, he likes to keep busy. We're the same in that regard. Can't remain still, always have to stay moving, doing something, thinking, whatever keeps the brain at work. I leave him to it shortly after. Part of me wants to thank him for all the trouble he has taken for people he barely even knows. Once this is over, I should probably find some way. Get him a gift card to Starbucks or something. Sorry, Zarbucks. In the meantime, I have this immediate problem to fix. Gotta get to this before it turns into a shitstorm. There's a strange lull in this area of the pub. People continue to trickle out instead of in, and this time, only 2 tables remain occupied. Soon, these people too will be gone, and the whole place will be devoid of anyone. Frankly, its current state already lends the place an entirely different vibe. Along with the soothing strum of strings and the steady beat of drums playing overhead, there's a calming sense to this. A far cry from times I've been here before. And perhaps it's for this reason why Isabella has chosen this place to retreat. She sits quietly in the furthest corner of the room, in one of the tables set right beside the windows. G usually keeps the curtains closed around this hour, but a small portion of it has been pulled back, revealing the busy streets outside. The late afternoon light spills right through it, outlining her small form and pooling on the surface of the table, where both her arms rest. In her hands, she flips a piece of folded paper, turning it from one side to the other without any purpose. A letter. A small frown creases her forehead while she stares at it, yet there's something oddly tranquil in the picture she has unknowingly painted. Something I can't bring myself to disturb, if only for a few seconds. It's one of those moments again. The rare ones, the ones where she's too still, too quiet, complete opposite of her usual self. But it's these that often leave a mark. I am thinking, if their if their thought is that the letter is the cause of the curse, it might not be a good idea to just, leave it out in the open where other people could perhaps look at it. I don't know. Not her cheery disposition or her lively attitude, but the short few seconds of wordless silence when the softest sighs and the slightest movements sing louder. The smallest, minuscule things that tell you about the person and her strength more than any words can express. It's these that carve a vivid memory, no matter how brief it lasts. And it breaks soon enough, the second I pry the letter off her hands and flop down on the empty seat next to her. She glares at me, annoyed, and just like that, all of it melts away. Gone is the stillness, replaced quickly by the teasing and friendly jibes. Back again to what we're used to. What's easy, what's familiar, where every truth we hope to convey regrettably goes unsaid between us.
You're going to destroy an important piece of evidence if you keep doing that, Belle.
This time, however, no retort comes from her. Without the letter to glare daggers at, she turns on her hands, now clenched tight in front of her. But she's far from angry. A bit upset, maybe? Who wouldn't be? This curse has already gone far too long. Has already taken one too many people from us. Regardless, Isabella doesn't seem like she'll start shouting at me, at least compared to every other people I've aggravated, intentional or otherwise. Some light talk may just do the trick and coax her out of this
Come
mood.
on. If you keep staring at the table like that, you're going to bore a hole on it. I really don't want to OG a new table. He'll pick the most expensive one and leave me begging on the streets.
She levels a quick glance at me, her expression dry and impassive enough to drain every color out of the room. It's as if I've just told her a terrible joke and she's expecting there'll be more of it. Really now. She needs to give me more credit than that. My jokes are funny when I want them to be.
And I really don't care. I'd even take pictures and post them online. Go away, Ash. I don't want to talk right now.
Yet it sounds half-hearted at best. Like what's happening has already sapped every bit of energy in her, and all that's left are the words. Pretty soon, those two will lose their meaning and leave a hollow shell in their wake. It's already unusual to see her like this. Everything has already gone to shit. I'd like at least this one thing to stay normal. So somehow we manage. We continue for the better half of the hour, talking, joking, with her short, feeble responses and banter that never goes anywhere. But it's enough. In the grand scheme of things, amidst the chaos and death shadowing over us, it's these little inconsequential moments that matter. It's her smile, her laughter, when it finally rings, easy and free of her burdens.
Okay, I have another one.
I don't want to hear it, Ashton. Go away.
No, really, listen. I know someone who talks like an owl.
Will you leave me alone if I bite and ask who?
See, he eats the sucker, and he wants to know how many bites or how many licks it takes to get to the center. But then he just eats it, and it's hilarious. It's a really funny commercial. A pause. And then she frowns as realization slowly dawns on her. Confusion flashes fleetingly across her face before eventually settling on a grimace. Suddenly, she hugs her arms closer to herself and looks away, perhaps in her best attempt to stay angry. To no avail. In a matter of seconds, her shoulders shake with laughter she's trying to contain.
You're awful, and I really hate you. Just leave.
It's contagious. Her mirth. Soon I'm joining her in it, briefly forgetting every problem that has piled up and continues to weigh down on us. Laughing without reservation or care, until only a familiar warmth lingers, once both our amusement ebbs away. Somehow, with her, these things have always come easy.
Feeling better?
A little. You're still lame.
And I always will be.
But you're laughing right now.
Only because your humor is terrible.
Right. Keep telling yourself that. I know it's funny.
Ashton does have some real dad joke kind of style
And
to
you know
him.
what? If you've kept frowning like that, your face might have cracked. That would have been really messy and ugly.
If glares can kill, with the one she sends my way, I'll probably be dead by now. Seeing it directed my way, it takes only a few seconds for me to realize how she might have also taken my statement. How wrong and rude it might have sounded in her ears, however unintentional it is. I've never been good with words, but that's never an acceptable excuse, is it? Suddenly, taking the brunt of her anger seems less complicated than correcting or explaining myself. Nevertheless, I try.
What? God, crap. Damn it, that was so not what I meant.
Can we just,
I was just saying
just-
you look better when you're smiling.
Uh-huh. Come on, darling, you look prettier when you smile. God, Ashton. Her glare doesn't even wane. In fact, I think it's intensified, like the brewing storm. In the face of it, under the sharpness of her stare and her annoyance, I do what any person with a good sense of self-preservation does. Keep my mouth shut and shift my attention elsewhere. The crowd outside looks very interesting today. Maybe I should...
Thanks, Ash.
She utters all of it in a voice too small, too quiet, but when I turn to her, only those words, her gratitude, resonate throughout the whole room. Not the soft clinking of silverware somewhere, nor the last strains of music fading into silence above us. Instead, it's the meaning behind her gaze as she holds mine that lingers. Steady, unflinching and open, in the same way she looked at me all those years ago, with bright eyes and expressions softening into a tender smile. I didn't understand it then. How easy it is for her to wear her heart on her sleeve, how she never shies away from expressing herself, even among people she barely knows, how she can go through everything without losing herself. Now it's among the hundreds, the thousands, that hang unspoken between us, trivial little things with worth still too big to put into words, either because it's too early or because there's never really a proper time. For now, though, this'll do. Now, come on! I don't want you to die before you tell her how you feel, Ash. Till the moment itself dwindles. Until reality pulls us back in, reminding us of the things we've set aside in its favor.
What was that about earlier? You look like you're about to wage war on that letter.
I mean, I think that's pretty understandable.
Oh, it's It's nothing. You probably won't like it when you hear it.
Maybe. You haven't said anything yet, so how am I supposed to decide how to react?
A small frown returns to her face, though it lacks the same anger from just a few minutes ago. The bitterness stays. Now there's also uncertainty. It takes another minute until she speaks again. This time, she doesn't meet my eye.
I was just thinking,
Yes!
maybe we should go back to the mansion.
Yes, we should. Blood freezes in my veins. I mean, it's so obvious that's what's gonna happen, right? We go there at night as the storm hits and a bunch of climactic nonsense is gonna go down. Before I can even think further on what to say, my mouth's moving, a disapproval ready at the tip of my tongue.
Isabella, you know that's...
I know, Ash. I just thought we'd find something in there.
Like the friendship and love we made along the way.
That if I go back, we'll get the answers we need. I found the letter there, so maybe...
It's not that I don't agree with her. Hell, been considering the same thing. It's the only lead we have after all, but it's not going to be a simple walk in the park. Who knows what we might find in there? If I bring her with me, I won't be able to guarantee her safety. She'll be in even greater danger. Hence, alone. If there's a need to go back to that accursed place, I'm doing it on my own. No, Ass, you moron! Whether she agrees with this plan is inconsequential. With Zach and Rebecca gone, her well-being is my top priority. I'm not just about to drag her in there with me. So I tell her as much, despite the determination and desperation in her eyes. Anything to keep her safe. Man, okay, so either way, there's no way to say yes here, but I can't let you do that, I think is the version of this I want, because obviously she knows it's dangerous, but I think this gives the subtext being, I care too much about you to let you do that, which is what I want, more so than just like, no, you could die. Yeah, I think.
I can't let you do that, Belle.
Come on. Yes! I just want this relationship to happen.
Ash, the people living in that place now, they were with me during the open house. They have to know. They're in as much trouble as we are.
I know, but it's risky. It's dangerous.
Also, who cares about Luke Wright? If he dies, the world will be a better place.
We don't know what you might find in there. Or if you'll even find anything. What if you see her again? What if she goes after you? What are you going to do? For all we know, it might be a dead end. It's not worth it. To put yourself in harm's way like that.
Belle, Zach won't be with us anymore. And if you...
The words won't form, and my throat closes up as soon as I see the look of utter grief in her. There was supposed to be a speech, damn it! Yet I can't bring myself to continue, much less say all those words I've carefully picked just for this. So it won't shock, so it'll hurt less. Especially her, who's always seen Zach as that decent older brother she never had. As family. The way her expression shifts from the terror to disbelief, then to anguish, makes the horrible lump in my throat feel more unpleasant. There's a sorrow in it, palpable enough as the meaning of what I've said sinks in, a pain I can't even hope to understand, one that we'll all deal with in our own ways. I can't even bring myself to look her straight in the eye. She offers no response, not even a form of resistance, no further argument, like I've come to expect from her. She doesn't even shed a single tear. Uncharacteristic. Just a silence that stretches far too thin, till the air in the whole room grows heavy. In front of her, her hand still stays curled up, like it's holding on to everything she wishes to say but can't. I like to think that, yes, to some extent she understands, even if she does not entirely agree with me. The dilemma is clear in her. Otherwise her scowl wouldn't have a deeper set to it, her lips wouldn't be pressed in a thin line, or her hand would no longer be balled into fists. She would have pushed that argument. She doesn't, and I know she has no lack of things to say. Instead, she simply offers a nod. And acquiesce. And in a moment of boldness, perhaps insolence, I reach out for her, taking her clenched wrists in mine and drawing them closer to me. She sucks in a breath, soft and sharp, but doesn't say anything, merely watching as both my hands cradle hers, cautious, mindful, as if it's the most precious thing I've ever held. Then again, maybe it is, along with everything I've yet to convey.
Stop that.
Surprisingly, although the gesture has startled her, she yields, allows a touch that is far too familiar, and more than what I'm willing to give most.
You're going to hurt yourself if you keep doing that.
Gently, I unfurl her fingers, flattening out each digit against my palms. Her nails have already created small dents on her skin, from how tightly she has held it close. A little more and she would have drawn blood. Deep as it is, smoothing a thumb over the tiny marks does nothing. But it's a small gesture we both find comfort in amidst the chaos, and all at once the tension lifts. Her expression softens, the lines of her shoulders ease, and it's only after her lips curve up in a faint smile that I let go, giving her hand one last squeeze before returning it to her. Part of me wants to tell her, admit that it's exactly what I'm planning tonight. What good will it do, though? I do intend to tell G before leaving tonight. He has to know if he's going to be keeping an eye on her for me. One person is already enough, however. Hell, simply letting someone in on the plan makes me iffy. Broadening that circle and revealing too much would just cause another pointless concern. But someone has to be aware, at least, of where I'm heading off to, in case things don't pan out. Expect the worst, even if I've only intended to do a quick survey of the place. In my own words, risky. It's best that I simply leave it as it is for now. Isabella doesn't need to be burdened with the worry of my entire scheme entails. I've already said enough. With a light, reassuring tap on her shoulder, I stand up. At the same time, footsteps shuffle from the pub's entrance, and cheerful chatter suddenly fills the room as a group of people enters. It's all the distraction I need. Muttering an excuse and flashing Isabella a quick smile, I beat a hasty exit out of the main lounge and leave her on her own, despite the troubled look she shoots me. Let's see what we got. Before Isabella can say what she's been mulling over, before the last imploring glance she directs my way forces me to change my mind, it's another lasting image that firmly etches itself in my memory, one that spurs the conscience, among other things. I just hope I won't regret what I've chosen for myself tonight. I think you probably will. I think another person might be helpful. Oh, alright. Well, we are as close to Isabella as we could possibly get now. So that's something. And that is going to have to do it for this episode. Next time, I think it begins. The sort of final night here. And what I feel like is going to be kind of the climax, at least for Ash's whole bit here. But we will see. Until then, this has been Downstage Gaming. I've been your host, Josh. And I will see you all next time.